put a pan of water on to boil, enough to cover the size of the egg. Add a good pinch of salt, and if you've got some, any form of vinegar, just a little drop, maybe like a capful or something like that. Both those things will help actually harden the shell of the egg when it begins to cook, and hopefully reduce cracking. Now, with your eggs, as soon as you start to see bubbles in the water, place your eggs gently into the pan of water. And we're going to bring that to a rapid boil and time exactly 5 minutes. And immediately take the eggs out and place them into cold water. If possible, run a cold tap over them so that they cool down as quickly as we can get them cold. So that way it will stop the cooking, because hopefully we're going for a slightly runny centre in our eggs. So while our eggs are cooking, we're going to prepare the rest of the ingredients for our Scotch egg. I've got breadcrumbs. Here I've just used some old bread that wasn't mouldy, that was dried, and just crumbled them up, either using a food processor or using a grater. You can buy breadcrumbs already done, but they do look a little bit artificial, apart from the Japanese breadcrumb panko, which are slightly dead baked, and they give a really nice texture if you can get hold of them. I've got 1 whisked egg, some flour, doesn't matter what type, and my sausage meat. As I'm showing you how to make a meat one, I will show you how to make a vegetarian one at another stage, but essentially we're just replacing this with chickpeas and onions. So you can buy sausage meat already made, already processed, or you can buy your favourite sausage, that a lot of them these days have their own flavouring in it, which is amazing, and just very carefully cut down the skin of your sausage and then take away the outer casing, and then you can just mash that all up. At this stage, if you wanted to, you can add any of your favourite flavourings, maybe even some like cooked onion, or if you really want to go full out, then sort of black pudding or something like that even goes really well, or grated apple or grated carrot even, to even get some vegetables in there. I'm just keeping it nice and simple, but I am going to season it with salt and pepper and 1 tablespoon of mustard. So I'm going to add my tablespoon of mustard. Now you might only want a teaspoon. I've put 2 teaspoons, about equivalent to a tablespoon. And I'm going to add some salt and some pepper. Now I'm happy with that. Now, depending on you, I don't mind getting my hands in there, so I'm just going to mash it all up, get everything all nicely squidged together. It's a great feeling, squidging it all, getting all that lovely colour of the mustard, all the flavours in there. Okay, once that's thoroughly mixed up and you're happy with that, before you wash your hands, just get it into a sausage shape again. And just divide it into 4. So our eggs are nice and cold, okay, and now we're going to take the shell off the egg. Now give it a gentle tap to break the shell, and then very carefully, using your thumb, just peel away. Now sometimes it gets a little stuck, so just go back around somewhere else. Okay, you will see, hopefully you can see that, there's like a little lining in that part of the egg. That's the bit we're trying to take off, okay? That's the bit that's in the shell. So the fresher the egg, the easier it is to actually peel these. Peel your egg, give it a little rinse, check there's no shells, put to one side and continue with your other eggs. So we're just going to start preparing and making our Scotch eggs. So cling film down, dip your hands in a bit of flour, that stops the meat sticking to them. Take your chosen casing and what I want you to do is basically press it down in the cling film, dip your fingers in the flour if you need to, alright, and try and get a sort of circle shape going on. This is what is going to enrobe the egg that we're about to put in. So take your egg, dip it in flour, place that in the centre of the meat and bring the cling film up corner to corner and gently cup it underneath and gently squeeze it to push the meat over the egg. Now you want to be gentle with this, but at the same time you need to ensure that all of the egg is properly covered. If necessary, undo, and you can see I've got a gap there, so if I gently push the meat round, I'm going to make a proper seal around the egg. Take the four corners once more, and this time just give it a nice twist, one more little reshape, and that way you've got a round Scotch egg. Repeat that with your other eggs and then we will move on to the next step. Now that you've wrapped them all up, just pop them on a plate and pop them in the fridge for about 20 minutes. So it's been half an hour and I'm ready to prepare my Scotch eggs. So I've got my flour, my whisked egg and my breadcrumbs all ready. Nice clean chopping board, washed and disinfected all my work areas, and now I'm going to go and take our product out of the fridge. Now, this is the fun bit. Take each one of your Scotch eggs, carefully unravel them, plastic bag straight in the bin, and the first thing to do is just put them in the flour. Now that adds a little barrier to the meat mixture. Okay, then add them to the egg gently and make sure it's thoroughly coated all the way over. This is our binding agent, it's our glue if you like. Then once you've done that, just drop them into your bread mixture. Now you end up with a wet hand and a dry hand, and we're going to repeat this process and just keep one hand that's wet, otherwise we will get clumps of breadcrumb and flour all over one hand. So once again, wet hand, flour, egg, breadcrumbs. Add it to our tray. So I've just heated up some oil in a pan, not too hot, so it's actually on a medium heat, okay? And the way we can tell that it's ready is if you get some of them breadcrumbs we had left over and put them in the pan, they should sizzle straight away. That's a sign that it's ready. If there's smoke coming up, that's too much. just going to very gently place a Scotch egg into the oil. I'm just going to leave it there for about 30 seconds and then turn it over. When it's nicely golden brown all over, as you can see, we've got some coloration going on here, okay, caramelisation from the bread there is. Okay, then it's time we're going to transfer it to our baking tray. With these Scotch eggs, the most traditional way of doing it is actually deep frying all of it until it's thoroughly cooked. But what we're going to do is a little experiment here where we've got two that we're not going to fry at all, and we're just going to see how that affects the outcome. Plus we've got our pre-fried one which is golden on the outside but it is still raw in the middle. They're both going to need about the same amount of time, which is about 20 minutes in a preheated oven at 180 degrees. Alright, can't speak. Right. So I've set the timer for 20 minutes and that gives me, guess what? 20 minutes time to clear up. Let's get washing. Alright, so it's time to take them out of the oven now and have a little look and see how they're doing. Oh yeah, right. So here's our results just out of the oven. Okay, so we've got our fried ones here at the top that just had a bit of coating, a bit of browning going on, and the ones at the bottom here were just straight in the oven. Then naturally the oils that come out of the fat that was used in these particular ones means it does go golden brown. So that means if you were going to do a vegetarian one, for example, you wouldn't get that. So it might be worth putting some oil just over the outside of it, just so it gets that chance to heat up and caramelise the bread that's in there, or process known as dextrinization. To check to make sure they're cooked on these ones, normally we put a thermometer in the middle of something and then make sure it gets to 75 to stay alive. But on this case we want the yolk not to get to that, because then it will go really, really hard. So what we're going to do is just check the outside by cutting into the Scotch egg and making sure by looking inside, looking inside to make sure there are no pink bits in the meat, in this instance around the outside. Okay, so make sure, whatever you do, make sure that it's thoroughly cooked before you eat it. Right then folks, let's cut this bad boy open and see what we got. Beautiful. I tell you what, they taste absolutely stunning. They will keep in the fridge for 3 days, so be sure to eat them up. Okay, enjoy. They're really nice, by the way, hot or cold, but do not reheat. Alright, have a great time. Alright, speak to you later. Look forward to seeing your results. Bye for now.